Hey everyone, good morning. It's Brent with BC Dubs, bringing you folks another hopefully watchable video. It is Thanksgiving Day here in beautiful Central Florida. Getting ready to spend some wonderful time with the family and people that you don't get to see very often, and tell everybody what we're thankful about. And that's what Thanksgiving is all about. One of my favorite holidays of the year. Let me know in the comments down below if it is one of your favorite holidays. We're going to get into some college football talk today. We got a huge slate of upcoming games this weekend. It's rivalry week. We have a lot of games coming on Friday, and we have a lot of games coming on Saturday. Is there an upset brewing possibly in these rivalry games? And we're got some things to talk about. We got Mack Brown that got fired up there at North Carolina, and there's a lot of chatter about should 3-loss teams get into the college football playoff. And we're going to get into all that in today's video. If you like this kind of content, please smash that like button. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit those bell notifications so you don't miss a single video that we post here at BC Dubs. Got back, went to that Auburn Texas A&M game. Wasn't going to go to that game earlier in the year after seeing the way that Auburn has been playing all year. It's just a long haul for us. It's an 8-hour drive to go up there. Excuse me, stay in a hotel, then turn around and drive right back to Lakeland, Florida in a weekend turnaround. So really wasn't looking forward to the game because I thought we'd go up there and we lose. As a matter of fact, I told my wife about 3 weeks ago to sell our tickets because I didn't want to go up there all the way up there and watch Auburn get pummeled by Texas A&M. But boy, was I wrong, and I'm glad that I was. What an amazing atmosphere it was up there at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama. The fans rushed the field. We were sitting 6 rows off the field, so we left right before that happened. Thank God, or I would have got kicked in the back of the head because the only access to the field would have been through me. So good on Auburn, a good win versus a ranked opponent. I think we have been craving that for a long time. At Auburn, it's been a long time since we beat a ranked opponent. And we needed that game. The fan base needed that game. The recruits that were in the stadium needed to see that win and see the electric atmosphere and what it's like to win in Auburn, Alabama, and to roll Toomer's corner and the atmosphere that all that is. I mean, when the Auburn fan base is unified at a football game in Jordan-Hare Stadium, there's no other atmosphere in college football quite like it. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a homer. It's true. I've been to many games up there, games that we won, games that we lost, and it's just the fans always bring it. The Auburn fans always bring it there at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And good on the Auburn men's basketball team for winning the Maui Invitational last night. They have went through an absolute gauntlet of a schedule already, and they have won every single game. So it looks like Auburn basketball is legit this year. So Mack Brown got fired at North Carolina, and anybody with a pair of eyes could see that coming. And you hate it for Mack Brown. He's such a nice guy and a nice coach, but it's time to move on up there for the Tar Heels, and he was let go. And there's a lot of speculation on who could replace him there at North Carolina. I don't really think it's a destination job. I think that's more of a coordinator taking a step up, maybe going to North Carolina. We're not talking about the North Carolina basketball team here. We're talking about the Tar Heels football team. And, I see a lot of big names throwing around out there to take over that job. And I don't know. I don't know why one coach would leave one school to go to North Carolina unless it's a step up. And some of the names that I've been seeing swirling around the internet isn't really a step up. It's more of a lateral move. And I can't see a coach that's at one destination just taking a lateral move to North Carolina. The one name that I'd be curious to see would be Rhett Lashley, maybe at SMU. But I don't know why he would leave SMU. I mean, he's got them guys headed in the right direction. I think if I'm Rhett Lashley, I hang out there at SMU until a bigger job comes open, and maybe I'll try to take that job. Maybe Virginia Tech, maybe West Virginia, something like that. Maybe a school like that for Rhett Lashley. Well, let's get into the slate of games that we got coming up on what we got. We got games tonight. We got a couple of games. We got a whole list and host of games coming up on Saturday. A whole list and host of games that are coming up on Friday. Some intriguing matchups. Excuse me. So let's get into the list. On Thursday night, tonight, Thanksgiving night, We have Memphis at Tulane. Tulane is red hot, red hot. It'd be a shame if they don't make it into the playoffs because of Boise State. I think Tulane could beat Boise State today if they played. I really do. I think Tulane could beat a lot of teams if they played them today. Tulane is not a team that you want to face no matter what your ranking is. You just don't want to play the Tulane Green Waves. They got Tulane at minus 13.5. I like it. I think Tulane wins that going away and keeps their hopes alive to get another group of 5 playoff berth into the playoffs. And who knows, the way all these other conferences are cannibalizing themselves, the Big 12 and the SEC, maybe we do get 2 group of 5s in there. That'd be crazy. Friday, and I don't have all the games listed here, just the marquee matchups that I think that's worth talking about. Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. Where's Ole Miss's head at after losing to the Florida Gators the way that they did? Are they going to be up to the game? And I want to go back and talk about this for a minute. I made a video up when I was up in Auburn. I made a few videos up there. Go back and check them out. They're in my feed. You'll really enjoy them. Talking about, does anybody remember the comments that Lane Kiffin made about, when he had 2 losses, about the potential that he gets into the SEC championship game, and then the potential of him losing that game and being punished for it and not out of the playoffs. So he was talking about basically, why would you want to go to the SEC championship game? That was the Florida week. Well, Lane, you don't have to worry about it now. And that's exactly why I think sometimes Lane Kiffin is a little bit of a clown. Because, instead of worrying about beating the opponent in front of you, you were worried about whether or not you'd lose in the SEC championship game. Stay on the task at hand. Auburn was going to hire him. I know it looks now like that might have been a good hire, but I'm telling you, I'm glad that they didn't. Lane's too heavy on the transfer portal for my liking. He does clownish stuff like that. He likes to blame the analytics for not kicking field goals. And that's another thing, man. What are you, a robot? Yeah, I know what the sheet says. It says here that if I'm 4th and 1 inside the 10, if I'm up by so-and-so points or down by so-and-so points, I either go for 2 or I kick a field goal or try to get a touchdown or go for it on 4th down. You've got a set of eyes as a head coach. Ole Miss is paying you to be the head coach and to make these decisions. You're getting paid some millions of dollars a year to make these decisions, but instead you're constantly going to some analytics sheet that some guy that's making $40,000 or $60,000 a year wrote. If I was an Ole Miss fan, I'd be furious if my coach came out after in a news conference and didn't kick 3 different field goals because they decided to go for it on 4th down in the red area. And then he came out and when I'm a reporter and I asked, well, why'd you do that? And you simply said, well, the analytics said. I would be infuriated. So Ole Miss, you don't have to worry about the college football playoff or the SEC championship game because you were focused on the wrong stuff there, Lane Train. Anyway, Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. The game is in Oxford. It's a 3:30 kick tomorrow. You got Ole Miss minus 26. I don't think so. I don't think Ole Miss covers the minus 26. I think this game is closer than the spread. I got them, and we'll talk about it later in the video. One of my best bets is the Ole Miss-Mississippi State game. Georgia Tech at Georgia. I just threw this out there. Georgia Tech's been playing inspired football all year long. Georgia Tech's going into Athens. I didn't write down what time the game kicks off here, but it's Georgia minus 19. I like that. Georgia's hopes are allowed to still make the playoff, and maybe they need a dominant performance over Georgia Tech to make sure that there are no question marks on whether or not the Georgia Bulldogs should make it into the playoffs or not. I like Georgia in this game. I like Georgia going away at minus 19. They got 3 more games on Friday I want to talk about. You got Utah at UCF, Oregon State at Boise State, and Nebraska at Iowa. The most intriguing game here to me is probably the Oregon State at Boise State. They got Boise State minus 19.5. I don't think so. I think that Oregon State makes that game a little closer than it looks. And I also like the Nebraska-Iowa game. Nebraska's bowl eligible. Good on Nebraska. They finally broke that whatever curse or bad juju that was hanging over their head over there in Nebraska. So good on them for getting bowl eligible. I like Nebraska in that game, even though they're on the road at Iowa. The spread's only 3.5. I did not bet on that game there. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Saturday slate of games. We got Tennessee at Vandy, Michigan at Ohio State, obviously South Carolina at Clemson, Notre Dame, USC, Alabama, Auburn, Texas and Texas A&M, Miami at Syracuse. Those are the games I want to talk about here real quick. Tennessee at Vandy is really intriguing. They got Tennessee. Tennessee's going into Nashville to play at Commodore's house there, and they got Tennessee at minus 10.5. I'm not touching this game with a 10-foot pole. Daniel Pavia, maybe he wants to go out in a blaze of glory. Defense, Tennessee's defense is they do have a really good defense. I don't necessarily think that Daniel Pavia is going to be able to run all over the field on Tennessee's defense. I do think that Vanderbilt's run defense is good enough to at least hold Dylan Sampson in check somewhat. Maybe hold him to 80, 100 yards rushing, which is the best you could hope for. Dylan Sampson's a really dynamic running back that the Tennessee Vols have up there. Tennessee does have a good offensive line, but I do think Vanderbilt's defensive line and their defense, and I think that Daniel Pavia does enough with his legs in this game to create space for his receivers, and that tight end that he's got out there, was it Stover or something like that, that transferred over with him from New Mexico State. I don't know. Is there a chance that Vandy can upset Tennessee? Absolutely, 100%. There's a 100% chance that Vandy can upset Tennessee. Tennessee has everything to play for. Their playoff hopes are still alive. They have to win this game to make sure of that. Vandy is on upset mode. They have nothing. There's no pressure on Vanderbilt in this game to win this game. I believe Vandy's going to go out there. They're going to play loose. They're going to play fast. They're going to play physical. And just like Auburn did, and just like Alabama did, Tennessee may have something coming for them in that Vanderbilt game. And, I'm not a big fan of Daniel Pavia. I think he's a crybaby. I think he thinks he's a lot better than he is. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to get down on a kid, but these aren't kids anymore. These guys like 22 years old. But that whole lawsuit that he's got against the NCAA and restraining order, excuse me, against the NCAA, stating that, he wants to file a lawsuit because when he was with the Group of Five, he didn't have the same opportunities that Division I players got to make the money in NIL. And my whole thing about that is well, it's not the group, it's not the Division I or the Power Fours that's fault that you didn't get recruited. It's not your fault either, but if you were that much of a standout in high school, you would have got recruited to one of these Division or Power 4 schools. I keep saying Division I, Power 4 schools instead of New Mexico State. And you're not going to get any money out of the NCAA for that. And what he's basically suing for is another year eligibility to make more money in NIL. And I don't think the NCAA is going to go for that. I think they're going to shut that down, and I think they should shut that down. It's a shame on Daniel Pavia for the situation he's creating up there. He's putting all the spotlight on him, in my opinion, and taking away from the success that he has helped create, mind you, I'll give you that, but the success of the Vanderbilt Commodores this season. So that's all I have to say about that. Tennessee minus 10.5, going into the Commodore Stadium. I don't like it. I think that Vanderbilt covers that and possibly can win the game, possibly wins that game outright against Tennessee. There is a really good chance that Vandy wins that football game. Let me know in the comments below if you think so as well. Michigan and Ohio State. Can Michigan get up for this game and beat Ohio State? You got Ohio State minus 20. It's a noon kickoff. No, there's no chance that Michigan beats Ohio State. I know they say it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen in a rivalry game, and I understand that. But where's Michigan going to get the offense from? In order for Michigan to win this game, they would have to hold Ohio State to 20 points or 21 points, no more than that, which Michigan's defense could do that There's a chance that they could do that for sure. But where's Michigan going to get 22 points from to beat Ohio State? They just don't have the offense to do it. I do like that. I don't know if it's going to be minus 20, so I'm not going to bet this game. I see this game somewhere in the 21-7, 24-10 range. Ohio State beats the Michigan Wolverines. South Carolina at Clemson, another intriguing game. This is also at noon. South Carolina's playing really good football, man. If you haven't seen South Carolina play this year, they have two losses this year of combined 5 points. They did get blowed out in one game. I've drawn a blank on that. But they lost to Alabama by, I think it was 2, and they lost to, was it LSU by 3 or something like that. Otherwise, we're talking about a 10-1 South Carolina team right now. Or, I'm sorry, a 9-1 South Carolina team right now going into the playoffs. And we're going to really find out what Clemson's all about. They have played a weak schedule this year like they do every single year. And you got the South Carolina Gamecocks coming in there to Death Valley into Clemson to play. And South Carolina could very easily win this football game. Very easily. I think South Carolina's got a good defense. Now Clemson does have a good defense as well. I think the difference maker in this game is going to be Stellars versus Cade Klubnik. What kind of Cade Klubnik do you get? What kind of Stellars do you get? So I'm not touching this game. The spread is Clemson -3. I'm not touching it. But South Carolina can very easily beat Clemson. And if they do, does South Carolina get into the playoffs with 3 losses? And we're going to talk about these 3-loss playoff bursts there at the end of the video and what my opinion on a 3-loss team getting into the playoff is. You guys may not like it. Notre Dame at USC. You got Notre Dame -7.5. It's going to be a very good game. You know, I heard some crazy stat that USC has had the lead in every game they played in the fourth quarter. There's only 6 teams in the country that could say that they've had the lead in every game they played in the fourth quarter. USC is one of them. The combined other 5 teams that can boast that same stat have 5 losses combined. USC by itself has 5 losses. So there's something going on in the fourth quarter with USC, and they fall off in the fourth quarter. But that tells me one thing. It tells me they're in every game that they play. Notre Dame's got a really, really solid defense. Can USC beat Notre Dame? You got Notre Dame -7.5. Yes, USC can beat Notre Dame. Do I think they beat Notre Dame in this game? I don't think so. If USC does beat Notre Dame in this game, it's a 2-loss Notre Dame team getting to the playoffs. Absolutely not. Notre Dame cannot survive another loss with that loss to, what was it? Northern Illinois that they lost to earlier in the year. I wouldn't put them in the playoffs just because they lost at Northern Illinois, but much less if they get another loss. So Notre Dame, a little bit of pressure on them to win this football game, to stay in the playoff hunt. No pressure on USC, kind of a similar similar kind of feel for this game that I do in the Tennessee Vanderbilt game, kind of for the same vein and the same reasons. All the pressure is going to be on Notre Dame in this game, not on USC. People would say, well, there's pressure on Lincoln Riley. I don't think so. I think the season is what it is for them out there at USC this year. I don't think he has any more pressure, win or lose. If he wins the game or loses the game versus Notre Dame, I don't think it moves the needle any way or the other as far as Lincoln Riley goes and the fan base, how the fan base feels about this season up there at USC. I do like Notre Dame to win the game though. Miami at Syracuse. They got Miami at -11. Miami's traveling up north to Syracuse, New York. I think Miami wins this game. I really do. It's hard. I don't bet Miami games because their defense is so bad. But I do think they win this football game. Is it -11? I don't know. They could win by 3. Who knows? Miami at Syracuse. They better win this game. I know that. Let's see. We got Auburn, Alabama. We're going to skip that one right now. Texas A&M at Texas. Woo! It's a big-time rivalry game on Saturday. Texas A&M at Texas. I've been watching college football long enough to know when that was a major rivalry. Those two fan bases absolutely hate each other. They do, like the Auburn and Alabama fan bases or the Ohio State, Michigan fan bases. I'm not saying that rivalry's up to the Iron Bowl or the Michigan-Ohio State game, but it's close. And they haven't played each other in a long time due to conferences. And Texas A&M coming into the SEC somewhat like 14 years ago now, or maybe, was it that long ago? About 14 years ago now. And this game has a lot on the line. There's a lot on the line in this game. Texas A&M beats Texas. Their hopes are still alive, absolutely, to win the SEC. And because Texas A&M's only got 2 SEC losses, then they would own the tiebreaker over Texas if Texas A&M beats Texas. Texas A&M did lose to Notre Dame earlier in the year, but that wasn't a conference game. You know how it goes. So if Texas A&M beats Texas, they can very easily get that, or they will get in that SEC championship game. They win that, they're in the playoffs. So a lot on the line for Texas A&M and a lot on the line for Texas. Texas wants to win the SEC, and right now they're the third-rated team in the country. They want to show everybody what they're made of in a big-time matchup. I know Texas A&M failed versus Auburn, but man, I think this game's in College Station. You got the 12th man up there, 111,000 people. It's going to be absolutely insane there. I don't know. I don't know. I think Texas A&M bounces back and beats Texas in this game. I do. I'm not sold on Texas. I'm not sold on Quinn Ewers. This game's on the road. Texas is a different team on the road to me. I know they went to the big house and beat Michigan up there, but who hasn't this year? I like Texas A&M in this football game for the outright upset. Now, I didn't bet that game, but I do like them in that game. One more rivalry game I want to talk about is the Auburn and Alabama game, the Iron Bowl. Now, I've heard a lot of chatter about Auburn could very easily go in there, and Alabama's down this year. They got 3 losses. They're a shell of what they were. Look what they just did at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 5-loss team. Auburn scored, 21 points or something against Oklahoma. Alabama could only muster 3. Yeah, I hear all that. Alabama's also been a completely different team on the road than they've been at home, period. On the road at Vanderbilt, lose the game. On the road at a 5-loss Vanderbilt team, they lose that game. A 5-loss not Texas, but Oklahoma team, they lose that game. And I think it was on the road at Tennessee. I think they played Tennessee in Tennessee. They lose that game. Now that game was closer and more competitive. Auburn's coming off a very emotional win against Texas A&M, and I will say this about Auburn, and they say your record is what you are, and I just don't believe that. Auburn's been in every game that they played this year, every single game. They've been right there. This Auburn football team this year, this 2024 Auburn football team has not rolled over. They have not given up on the season. They never did. I think the difference in Auburn being 8-2, 9-1 this year is Peyton Thorne. He's good enough to win you some games if everything's going right, but he's not going to have that it factor to come and win you a game. You can't put it on Peyton Thorne's shoulders to win you a game. And we've seen that. Auburn fans have seen that all year long. But that's the difference. That's really been the difference in Auburn season. Defensively, they've been in every game. Well, I don't want to just say and special teams. Special teams have been absolutely horrendous for Auburn. I don't think there's a worse special teams in the country. So I don't know who Auburn special teams coach is. I probably should have looked that up before I did this video, but whoever they are, I hope they kind of get rid of them and get a new special teams coach, because special teams this year has been horrendous. Penalties all year long on punt returns and kickoff returns for blocks in the back. They finally seem to have got that corrected a little bit by basically fair catching all of them. Horrible punts. Oscar Chapman's never been a good punter. He gets a lot of credit for being a good punter. I don't know why. He can't punt the ball more than 40 yards. And I don't recall a time where I ever seen him pinning anybody inside the 2-yard line. People keep talking about how great of a punter he is. I don't think so. Field goal kicking's been atrocious. It's so bad that Auburn had to pull a kid out of a classroom to go kick field goals for Auburn 3 weeks ago. This was a kid that played for, I think it was Alabama Birmingham College or something like that. They shut down their football program. So they pulled him out of the classroom to go kick for them because the kicking's been so horrible this year. McPherson's been out all year with some type of digestional virus. So you can look at those things and say, well, that's why Auburn's been down and out all year long. But for every other aspect of the game, they've been in every single game. The heart's been in every single game. Now, can Auburn go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama with Peyton Thorne? Calling the plays. Peyton Thorne being the quarterback. I guess they could. I'm an Auburn fan, so this is tough to say. Do I think that they will? Man, I don't think so. I don't think so. And the people that are saying, oh man, Auburn's going to go right in there and roll over, da-da-da-da-da-da. First of all, pump your brakes. Auburn hasn't won in Tuscaloosa since 2010. It took a miraculous comeback from one of the best players in college football history in Cam Newton to make that comeback, just to win that game. Is Alabama down this year? Sure. You don't think? So I hear a lot of talk about how, well, the players aren't going to have any motivation for Alabama. Well, sure they are. Everybody's, individually, players are motivated to go out and perform good. You're telling me there's not scouts that are in that stadium that's going to see if you're going to just mope around the field, before you get drafted. Maybe a team passes on you because they see that you're not giving 100%. So I don't think there's going to be a lack of motivation in that game, in the Auburn-Alabama game. Can I think Auburn can hang with Alabama and keep it close? Absolutely. They've done it all year long to everybody they played. I'd be ecstatic if Auburn wins. Auburn has a lot on the line here, a lot to lose. Auburn's going in there to get bowl eligible. Who would have thought that we'd have said that? Alabama has a lot to lose too. A four-loss Alabama team, first year head coach Kellen DeBoer, and that fourth loss coming at home to Auburn. Man, they may burn that guy's house down. If they may run Caleb DeBoer out of Tuscaloosa with pitchforks, because that is a rabid fan base up there that believes that it's their God-given right to get a national championship every single year, and I don't understand it. It is not anybody's right to win a national championship every single year. You Alabama fans are freaking spoiled. You got Nick Saban, and he's the best to ever do it, and now you expect to hold everybody else to that same standard, and it's just not going to happen. So you Alabama fans that bitch, moan, cry, and complain because you lose a game, be quiet. You've had a great run. Time to take your lashings, take a step back, and build your new program for a couple of years, and just quit whining about how you deserve to be in a playoff with 3 losses. I'm tired of hearing it. Give me a break. Alabama, your season is over. To steal that from Uncle Lou, that's what he says. Your season is over as far as making the playoffs, the SEC championship game. Quit whining, quit complaining, quit trying to bolster a position and rally to get votes to be in the playoff, because you don't deserve to be there. Period. Don't go to Oklahoma and not score but 3 points. Don't go into Vanderbilt and lose and lose the game to Vandy. We did. So, you can't go lose that game and expect to get into the playoff. What else we got? Sorry, went on that rant there. Ranked versus ranked matchups this weekend. There's 2 that I could find. Correct me if I'm wrong. Comment down below. I only saw 2, and that's Texas A&M, number 3 versus number 20. And Kansas State at Iowa State. That's number 24 versus number 18. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't think so. I don't think there are any more ranked versus ranked opponents that are playing each other this year. Who's Colorado playing again? I don't even think I have Colorado on here. Oh, Oklahoma State. Yeah. Well, we all thought Oklahoma State would be ranked at the beginning of the year. All right, let's get into my best bets. My best bets this week is Minnesota plus 1.5 over Wisconsin, and I have over 41 points in that game. I have that on one of my best bets. I have Oklahoma State versus Colorado. I have under 65. I took the under in that game. Oregon State plus 19 versus Boise. I like Oregon State on the plus 19. Give me 19 points on the Oregon State Boise game. Mississippi State plus 26 versus Ole Miss. I like Mississippi State. Give me 26 points. It's a rivalry game. Mississippi State's had a bad year. Ole Miss has nothing to prove, really. I mean, I think the players will be up to play, but I don't think they're going to go in there and just annihilate Mississippi State by more than 26 points. I know Mississippi State is bad, but I like Mississippi State plus. Give me 26 points in that game. Georgia minus 19 versus Georgia Tech. I think Georgia just obliterates Georgia Tech in this football game. I'm not saying Georgia Tech's a bad team, because they're not. I like what Georgia Tech's doing. I like where they're trending with that program up there. I think they've done a great job this year. I just think Georgia's going to go in there and it's in Athens. And I think Georgia's going to absolutely steamroll a boat race Georgia Tech. Now, real quick, I'm already at 30 minutes in this video, so I want to go over this real quick. Does 3-loss teams deserve to get in the playoffs? Absolutely not. 3-loss teams don't. How far have we fallen that we're talking about, which 3-loss team needs to make it into playoffs? 2-loss teams shouldn't make it into playoffs. Maybe in a rare occasion, depending on how strong your strength of schedule is. Undefeated and 1-loss teams are the teams that should be making it into the playoffs. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it needs to be. I know it's hard now when you got 12 teams. You got to cherry pick who you want to put in there. That's why we shouldn't go to 12 teams. This 12-team playoff's an absolute train wreck with these automatic qualifiers. You're going to have winners of group of 5 conferences that get in over 2-loss Power 4 conference losers that have played a more gauntlet of a schedule than these group of 5 conference winners. I don't like the seeding. I don't like how they seed it. I don't like the automatic qualifiers. I think you should have automatic qualifiers for your Power 4 teams. Anyway, this 12-team playoffs is an absolute joke, in my opinion. It's experimental. It's only 2 years long. I like to see him go back down to 4. I'd really like to see him go back down to none, to be honest. And let's pick the 2 best teams to play in the national championship game. That's what I grew up watching. That's what I like to see. But no, man, you don't get into the playoffs if you're a 3-loss team. Just because they made a 12-team playoff doesn't mean that you get to skate. It doesn't mean that. College football has been the same for a long time. You're not deserving as a 3-loss team to get into the playoff. You're just not. You're just not. That's just my opinion. Anyway, listen, I'm sorry about the ranting today. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you guys can relax and you girls can relax and enjoy your college football throughout the week. Thursday night tonight we have games. We also have games all day on Friday, games all day on Saturday. It's going to be great. I'm probably going to get in trouble with my wife because I'm going to spend a lot of time out here in the man cave, so I'll probably get yelled at for that. But I'll be posting shorts throughout the week and another long-form video probably on Saturday morning to talk about those games. I wanted to get this out before the games started kicking off this holiday weekend. I hope everyone has a blessed week, and we'll see you folks on the next one.